says showtime.
It does. It's off.
Get on Christy about that.
You taking any vacation this summer?
Good evening.
No,
I call this meeting of the Bastrop Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called and that a notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, would you please rise for the pledges and the prayer?
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Texas flag. Please remain standing. At this time, we have Nick Henderson with East Valley Christian Church to offer us opening prayer.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the rain, and we thank you for how you provide for us in so many ways. We thank you that you are a great Father to us and that you love us unconditionally and you provide for our needs. And Father, I pray for BISD. I pray for the administration. I pray for the teachers. I pray for all those that are involved in just allowing each school and operations to happen and to work. And I pray for them this summer. I pray that as they reflect on the past school year and as they prepare for the new school year, that you give them wisdom, that you give them direction so that they can continue doing their great jobs in this fall to start a new year. And Lord, right now I just want to lift up former board member Bobby Jenkins' family to you. I pray for them in this time of their loss of Bobby, that you be with them, that you comfort them, and that you show them your love during this difficult time of that loss, Lord. So I just lift them up to you. Lord, I thank you so much for BISD. I thank you for all the leaders that are involved and working in, and I pray that you continue to use them and that we may glorify you in all that we do. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. All right, at this time, we have a student speaker for character education trait for June, which is honor. Mr. Edwards, would you mind introducing our speaker, please?
Yes, I will, and it's my pleasure to introduce Rob Havens to everyone. He is a fourth grader at Mena Elementary School, and he will speak this evening on honor. Rob is involved in 4-H shooting sports, CrossFit youth exercise programs, swimming, reading, and theater. Rob's parents, if you would please stand and be recognized, are Doug and Christine Havens. Thank you, Rob. Go ahead.
What is honor? Nice people tell you what you want to hear, and kind people tell you the truth, but what do honorable people do? Honorable people do the right thing, even if they don't have to. Honor is nice and kind mixed together. It's like a math sentence. Nice plus kind equals honor. Honor is truth in a blunt way. My dad says the truth hurts sometimes. Honor is to look after others like a soldier carrying an injured comrade to the infirmary. Honor is being brave, like participating in World War II. It's like Captain America. He takes care of others, cares about others who are struggling. An antonym to honor is shame and lying. Another dishonorable thing is to injure a stranger or friend and leave them there just because you felt like it. That's terrible. Honor is the opposite of all of that. Honor is the right thing, not the wrong thing. The older you get, the more chances you have to be honorable. The best chance of being honorable is to serve in the military. Fun fact, there is a city with yellow ribbons that have the names of soldiers on them. That place is really military friendly.
Well done.
Rob, thank you very much. We really do appreciate that. It was great. At this time, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we'd like to extend the Jenkins family our sympathies and prayers. Robert E. Jenkins, Jr., which a lot of us know as Bobby Jenkins, was appointed to place 3 on the Bastrop Independent School District Board of Trustees on December 11th, 1974, to fill a place of C.A. Eskew. Mr. Jenkins resigned from the board on June 10th, 1980, so that was 6 years. And so I just want to definitely publicly thank his family for their sacrificing of his time to help BISD and serve at these meetings. So we'll definitely keep them in our prayers. All right, at this time, we'll move on to special recognitions. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you very much. I have the pleasure of introducing 3 honorable educators to those of you in the audience this evening. We have 3 employees that have recently received their doctorates, and I'd like to invite them up at this time so that we can recognize them and share a little bit of information about them. First of all, we'd like to honor Gateway Principal Patricia Alford. That would be Dr. Patricia Alford. Dr. Alford graduated with a Doctor of Education degree in Education Leadership on May 5th. Her dissertation was entitled Parents' Perceptions of the Effectiveness of Their Child's Postgraduate Transitional Plan. Her experience as principal of the Disciplinary Alternative School provided a unique viewpoint from which to conduct her research. Dr. Alford received a special recognition as a member of Kappa Delta Pi International Honor Society of Education. Congratulations, Dr. Alford. Next, we have Dr. Latasha Carter. She's a middle school teacher, and she has successfully defended her doctoral dissertation entitled The Effects of Race and Gender, Intersectionality of African American Women in Executive Leadership Positions on April 13th, and was awarded the degree of Doctorate of Education in Educational Leadership. She also received special recognition as a member of Kappa Delta Pi International Honor Society in Education. Congratulations. And unfortunately, Dr. Carter will be leaving us this summer as she goes on to, how do we say it, Wuhan, China? Wuhan, China. See? She has a doctorate, I don't. And last, but of course not least, our district math specialist, Lana Johnson. Dr. Johnson successfully defended her doctoral dissertation entitled A Recipe for Success, a study of the key structures and strategies of highly effective 8th grade mathematics programs in Texas. And I know we'll take advantage of those, right, Doctor? Yes. All right. Let me take a picture with it real quick. Maybe some of that smart will rub off on it. All right, at this time, we're going to move on to recognition of our Texas Association of School Boards business partners and community partners, and Dr. Lee will be making those presentations. I think we're going to move to.
Okay. Well, this is always, I can move this back here. A fun thing to be able to do for Mr. Edwards and the school board, to be able to publicly say thank you and to recognize those business partners and community partners without whom we wouldn't be able to do all that we do here in Bastrop ISD. This is by no means an exhaustive list. We recognized some partners last year. We're recognizing some others this year, and we will just continue to do that in numerous ways. And so I'm honored to to tell you a little about these businesses and community organizations that have meant so much to us. And we're just going to do this alphabetically. It would just be easiest. That's my list anyway. So, some of our partners are not here, and so I'll recognize them at the end. But if board members, if you would come up to the front so that you could participate in. My glasses are really struggling because you're blurry if I look at you out there, but I need them to read what's in front of me. Can I get anybody have that trouble? That's what's happening to me. Our very first partner is actually one of our board members who's before us, and that is Dr. Matthew Mix, Adjust Chiropractic. Adjust is one of our key partners in our Back to School Bash and in our Stuff the Bus campaign, which we have during the summer. Last year we gave out 1,500 backpacks, and we're shooting for 1,600 this year. And without businesses like Adjust and Dr. Mix, we wouldn't be able to do that. So thank you very much, Dr. Mix. We can just get Dr. Mix in the center since he's the partner that we're recognizing here. Next, we have Advocacy Outreach, Miss Ann Spaniers. And if I could have Norma Mercado come up here with her. Where's Norma? Advocacy.
I don't see Ann Spaniers.
She's not, Norma. Come on up. The Advocacy Outreach. You all go on up while I talk about you. Advocacy Outreach, they provide housing assistance to our BISD Paths Project students and families, and so we're so grateful to the assistance that they provided. If you guys will get in the center, we'd love to do a photo op with you as well. Our school board's just beautiful window dressing tonight. They look awesome. Yes. Sorry. Thank you. Advocacy Outreach. Next, we have the Bastrop Chamber of Commerce. They assist us in so many ways. Not only do they have a standing committee, the Education Committee, which sponsors the whole entire program of We Believe in BISD, but they assist us in getting out information, promoting us on social media, and just really in general being good partners for the district. So I'd like to invite Jolene Yaney to come up. She is the president of the board, and Becky Womble couldn't be here with us tonight, so Jolene is in her stead. Bastrop Chamber of Commerce. The Bastrop Economic Development Corporation is another key partner. Not only are they We Believe in BISD sponsors, but also they are the primary organizer and coordinator for our Bastrop Youth Career Fair. So Ms. Jean Riemann-Schneider. Bastrop EDC, thank you. Norma, I have another one for you. The Bastrop Emergency Food Pantry. They provide food backpacks for our BISD Paths Project students. In addition, they are our key partners in our, am I getting it right, the Nibbles Project, which I just love that name. The Nibbles Project that provides backpacks to our children at Lost Pines, Red Rock, and Bastrop Intermediate every Friday to ensure that some of our kids who are food insecure have what they need on the weekends when they're not with us. And Tricia Silver is the executive director of the Bastrop Emergency Food Pantry, and so we're recognizing her tonight as well. And I would like to say that in addition, you guys can go on up. In addition, they are getting special recognition tonight as a Harvey hero for their work during Hurricane Harvey.
Can I just add that Nibbles is the name that Laura Osmondula came up with in our meeting, and Nibbles stands for Nutrition and Backpacks before little days at school. So I want to make sure I...
Aw. Yay, Lori. Congratulations. Thank you. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. Another one of our We Believe in BISD partners is Miss Marianne Green from Colwell Banker, Green Mills and Associates. Norma? The next group of folks we want to recognize, I don't know if they arrived. Can you, Mr. Sella. Okay, we'll move, maybe they're running a little bit late. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Okay, another one of our key partners in the BISD Back to School Bash and Stuff the Bus is Gold Star Transit. And John Everly, he's coming here. We certainly couldn't do Stuff the Bus without buses, as well as their financial contribution. We really appreciate what they do for us. Thank you. Next, we have Independence Title, Brittany Davis and Jennifer McFall. Tina Fusil could not be with us tonight, but she is sending representatives for her. They are We Believe in BISD sponsors. In addition, Tina, of course, serves as the co-chair for the We Believe in BISD committee at the Chamber. Thank you all for being here. Next, we have Cana Real Estate, and Dawn couldn't be with us tonight, but James Beck and Blake Kaiser are here, so if I can ask those gentlemen to come up. They are We Believe in BISD partners. Thank you very much, Cana Real Estate.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Another We Believe in BISD partners, you can tell that we have lots of community support in this fashion, and we're so happy about that, is Literacy Volunteers, Bastrop, and Sue Pardue is here with us tonight. now we are recognizing another board member, Mr. Ashley Muchink with the Nietzsche Group. They are, we believe in BISD partners, of course, and in numerous other ways volunteering at Back to School Bash. And you can get in the center now, too, so we can take a picture. Actually, when you're a board member, we pretty much just make you guys volunteer at all kinds of things and partner with us and donate, and we appreciate that you almost always say yes. Only when you're really tied up do you not do anything that we ask you to do, and that's so nice. We believe in BISD partner, REMAX of the Bastrop area, and ZLO is here to accept their award. Thank you. And Norma, if you'll come back up to join me, we want to recognize, Zia, I forgot to give this to you. We want to recognize Pastor Roland Nava with Safe Family Shelter. Safe, Secure Acre Family Emergency Shelter has provided temporary housing for our BISD Paths Project students and their families, and we're so grateful for that support. For sure, you help us help our students who are in the most difficult situations, and we really, really appreciate that. You want to step back just a little bit? We're about to do Hillary Long. I'm getting pictures of her. Okay. Next, we have Miss Wanda Garcia with Stanberry Realtors. They are also one of our We Believe in BISD partners and a repeat honoree. Thank you, Stanberry. And next we have State Farm, the James Allen Agency. Again, another one of our board members. We thank you so much for being a We Believe in BISD partner. For fantastic. Thank you. The Texas A&M AgriLife Extension provides nutrition and cooking classes to the parents and students in BISD. So if Miss Hillary Long will come up. She's actually right here. Yeah. There you are. And Norma. Hillary's also on the Bastrop County Cares Leadership Council, and she's working on her doctorate, and she's a busy lady. Thank you. And next we have Miss Lindsay Cana. She's with Being Direct. They are We Believe in BISD partners, and she is just such an amazing school promoter. She helps us get information out on social media, and she just likes us a lot, and we appreciate that. Did I miss anyone who? I think we're ready to then make the announcement of who our Community Partner of the Year is for the entire district. So Lori, if you'll come and join me. Lori Anzaldua, she is our Family Engagement Specialist, Coordinator, and she is in charge of coordinating how we decide on all district-wide with all of our campuses who our Community Partner of the Year is. And so we would like to announce that that is First National Bank, Mr. Reed Sharp. See if you can hold all that, Reed. It's just amazing all that First National Bank does for the district. It's not always a financial contribution, but they are very generous to BISD, and we are so grateful. But they also just support us in so many other ways, by loving the district, by volunteering in our schools, by serving as mentors, by giving us advice and feedback, by serving on committees, and we really appreciate it. And
There we go.
And Mr. Sharp, would you like to be able to say a few words as our Community Partner of the Year? I'll be glad to hold those things for you if you'd like.
I'd like to say thank you to all the school board, because y'all are up here at the meetings and doing all the heavy lifting, and all we do is read the paper and criticize. Honor to be a partner with BISD. Most of us raised around here educating this very building here, so whether it was before it burned this particular one. Everybody, keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes our business and community partner recognition. Thank you all for your patience tonight, and I just give you all another round of applause and thank you for your commitment to the office.
Chief Yarborough, would you mind making your way to the podium there? And Mr. Edwards, would you please introduce our district spotlight, please?
I sure will. It's an honor and a privilege to introduce the Police Chief Jeff Yarborough, who recently gave a spotlight at the chamber meeting, and we usually like to invite them to the board meetings to go ahead and share the information they shared there.
Okay.
Chief?
Mr. Muchink, Mr. Edwards, members of the school board, I wanted to talk this afternoon about a school safety symposium that we are hosting here in Bastrop on June 27th. It's being hosted by the Bastrop ISD Police Department and the Bastrop School District. What we wanted to do, and as you all know, that we as a district, we work continuously to make sure that we are leaders in school safety, and not only here in the district, but in the state of Texas. And every day our officers go out and we work to identify security gaps that exist in our campus, at our campuses, so that we can close those gaps to make our schools safe, and we can have a safer learning environment for our students. So we want to make sure that we're always training, we're always assessing, and we're always working with our campus and our local law enforcement partners to close those security gaps. And every incident of violence that occurs in a school throughout this country, it impacts us. It causes us to go back and reflect on what protocols we have in place, how we can improve our safety strategies and protocols to make our response and our deterrence more effective. So what we did after we're hearing about the Santa Fe ISD school shooting, it hit us particularly because it was really close to home. And we know a lot of people in those areas in the law enforcement field, and it caused us some great concern. So we wanted to figure out how we could learn from that tragedy. So what I did was I reached out to the chief of police of Santa Fe ISD. And the shooting, we all know that happened May 18th, a little over a month ago. And he agreed to come and speak at our school safety symposium about what took place at Santa Fe ISD. Not only the tragedy, he can't go into the details, but he wants to talk about what safety and security protocols they had in place, what worked in theory, what worked in practice, how they are going back to reevaluate their protocols, and what they learned from that as a school ISD and as a district. Also, the first responding officers that were non-school police officers were DPS troopers. So I reached out to those officers, and they both agreed to come and speak as well about what challenges they faced as a non-school police entity, coming in and working and creating a seamless integration of law enforcement response to that tragedy. So we're going to have those speakers come to us and speak at our symposium on June 27th. The chief's going to talk about, all of those things, and he's going to talk about what he learned as an agency, and I think the passion that he has is going to be something that our law enforcement partners and our school district partners who are going to be in attendance will learn a tremendous amount from, that they can take back and adjust and modify their safety and strategy protocols. We've had a tremendous amount of outpouring of interest and support for this event. We currently have people on tap, like the governor's office is sending a representative to speak. We have Senator Kurt Watson. We have Representative John Cyrier, who's going to be in attendance. Of course, the chief of Santa Fe ISD. We have the DPS troopers. We have a senior public information officer from Travis County who's going to be speaking as well. We have a Lamarck Middle School principal, Dr. Flo Atkins, who will be speaking on school safety, and I think that's going to be really good because she's speaking from a administrator's perspective on school safety, what she's seen that's worked, and she wrote her dissertation on school safety, so I think it's going to be a really good perspective for law enforcement. Not only that, she's the wife of one of the responders, which I think is going to give an added dynamic of the gravity of how important school safety is. We also have had almost 250 respondents who are going to be in attendance, and that's the count as of today. We've been averaging about 30 respondents a day of people who want to be in attendance. So it will not surprise us at all if we top out well over 300 people in attendance. We have people from APD Bomb Squad. We have AISD Police Department. We have DPS, Cy-Fair ISD, Williamson County, Travis County, Round Rock PD, San Marcos PD, UT PD, Hutto ISD PD, Hayes County, and we have many other agencies from around the state. Not only school police, not only regular police officers, street police, but we have superintendents, we have administrators who are going to be in attendance as well. And we also have several school safety vendors who will be there showcasing their latest technology in the area of school safety, so that law enforcement will be able to speak with them and see what new technologies exist that may improve school safety. And I felt that it was important as a district for us to reach out and to make this happen, because when we had the incident in Santa Fe, the governor jumped on it immediately, and he had a roundtable discussion about that. But I wasn't hearing any talk about it in the law enforcement community, and for us, that's vital. So what we decided as a district was to make that happen, not only to make that happen for law enforcement, but to make that happen here in Bastrop so that people know that we are serious about making sure that we keep our students safe and our community safe, but we're seriously leaders in school safety. I've talked to many chiefs around the state, and I've talked to them about some of the safety and strategy, security protocols that we have in place, and they're blown away that we're doing certain things that they have never thought of. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity for all law enforcement to come together, talk about what works for us and what works for them, and we may have some positive takeaways, and I'm sure we will, that we can go back and reevaluate what we do and implement those safety and security protocols here in Bastrop. Due to the safety and sensitivity of what we're going to be talking about, this event won't be open to the public or to the media, but it will be open to all law enforcement and to all school officials. So I just want you to know that we do take safety serious. I know you know that as a board, and we know that as a community, but we want the state to know that we do that as well, and we want the law enforcement community and the school districts around this state and around this country to know that we are serious about what we do here, and we love our kids enough to where we're willing to give our lives if that's what it takes. And we're going to continue to reevaluate what we do so that we can continue to be the flagship district in law enforcement and school safety. Any questions for me?
Chief, I'd just like to know, thank you very much for your passion. And we had an opportunity last week as a board to go to Leadership TASB in San Antonio. And of course, I signed up for several of the classes in regards to school safety and stuff like that. The rooms were packed. I couldn't find a seat. I was probably the sixth person outside the door. And I was able to listen in to the topics and what they were talking about. And it was very, very reassuring that the things that we're hearing about and the actions that we've seen take place since we formed a police department are definitely, heading in the right direction. We're doing everything that we possibly can.
Yes, sir.
And so it was very, very reassuring and really kind of definitely reassured my personal vote on forming this police department for the school district. So thank you, and thank your officers for what y'all do.
Well, we're proud to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, this time, Ms. Barrientos informed me that we had no one sign up for open forum. So we'll move to agenda item number 2. Ms. Callahan will come up and visit with us about A, B, and C.
All right. Good evening, Board. Tonight we are here to conduct our public hearing for our 18-19 general fund, food service, and debt service budget. We'll also be asking for approval of our compensation package, which has been amended for our salary changes for this year. We'll talk about that a little bit in the presentation. This is a public hearing, so we invite questions from the board, of course, and from the public if there are any. I want to say that putting together a budget, as you all know, it's a big effort, and it involves so many people other than myself. All of the administrative team, the campuses, the departments, and as you know, budgets really are, they go all year long. It never ends, it never stops because it changes, and it's a great effort, and everyone works so hard, and we all get it together, so it's great. So I just want to definitely note that it's a joint effort from everyone. Just to show our budget calendar, we finally made it to June 19th to have our budget adoption. Again, it's a good night. Again, some of this are items that we've gone over, but just to keep in mind the different areas and the different stakeholders we talk to about the budget as we go through it, the different data we use looking at it, the needs assessment, our first report, our taper. A lot of people are involved in and outside the district. Of course, talking about our priorities, our curriculum management plan, an RTI focus for this year, social emotional learning, our discipline is always a very head of our budget process. Of course, our career pathways, our ELL instructional support. as well as our state and federal mandates. Safety and security, as you know, as Jeff spoke, it's very high on everybody's priority list. We've made that a priority, as you know, over the last few years by doing safety upgrades and using some of our fund balance to do that. But the district felt that was important, and I think everyone feels that's important. Again, monitoring our state allotments, looking at our Every Student Succeed Act as well. Allocations, I'll show you a little chart on that later of how some of our state money is allocated towards certain populations and how the state is going to monitor that, has always monitored that, but looking at that even closer as the next few years. Our budget assumptions for this budget haven't changed from kind of the beginning. Our estimated enrollment, 11,292, ADA, 10,379, and our WADA, our weighted average daily attendance, 13,423. And as we spoke about, the weighted average daily attendance involves all those special populations as they have higher weights than just when students come to school, you get a certain amount of money, and if they're special ed or bilingual, et cetera, you have higher weights for those. Our comptroller values, $3.4 billion, and that's what our state aid is based on. When you put your comptroller values in your state aid template, that's how your state aid is calculated. Our property values, again, an estimate, since we won't receive our certified values until July. This is based on our April preliminary certified, $3.48 billion. Again, we'll adopt our tax rate in September, but now, right now, we see it staying the same at $1.0440 for debt service. Our current budget proposal includes $1.1 million increase for compensation. Our compensation package that you will adopt tonight or approve includes that 2% increase that we are proposing in the budget for teachers, and then 2% of the midpoint for each of the pay families. And that's, we increase our hiring scale, so that is in line with the raise that is given. And for teachers, that's a 2% of their current salary. We will maintain the district's contribution to the health insurance at $325 per month. Again, pay increases, the 2% across the board, and just to show that 78% of our pay increases do go for instructional purposes for teachers and classroom teaching assistants. 6 new teaching positions in the budget. This is how they're allocated among the campus levels. We do have 1 unassigned at this time, but just changing students as the students move up in grades and the growth in different areas, and this is how we've landed so far. As you know, sometimes when school starts, we have to come back and ask for positions, but I do believe this gives us room. As you'll see on the next page, the student-teacher ratio estimates right now that HR worked with us on shows we do have some room for new students. This budget also includes, of course, an allocation for supply for the growth in population, a communication increase for some software, for actually surveying, doing some surveys, our CPI increase for transportation, and we do have some one-time costs this year for HVAC and wastewater, but those are incorporated within our general budget and no need to ask for a fund balance. And also this year, the district portion of the daycare cost, which in the past we've kind of amended once we know where that is, but I think our communications department and our community ed has a good idea of what that cost is, and really what that cost is for the students that have children, and those that helps to offset the cost for the teen parents. Just to show our enrollment trends, I showed this last month, and as you know, we are a fast growth district and really have grown 24% over the last 10 years, definitely over 10% over the last 5 years, which is what makes you a fast growth district. And I also just wanted to show you, as you can see, of course, ADA trends very similar to enrollment, which is good, 24.7% increase over 10 years. Of course, we always want to increase our ADA, but ADA increases inherently with just having more students, but then the more they come to school, that's even better. So when we talk about increasing ADA, we're really talking about students coming to school more often. Property values, just to show that we have had quite an increase in property values over the last few years. I think that will continue as you see the growth. Bastrop still is a highly residential district as far as where our property values are, but we do see more commercial growth as we go. I'd like to show this just as far as the impact in property values. You hear the notion of if your property values grow, you must be getting a lot more money. But as we talked about, your state aid is reduced when your property values increase. So I just kind of like to show this sample that shows if you do have a large increase in your property values, you're pretty much your net that with your state aid decrease. So really the best way to get more money is more students to come and for them to come to school a lot. Our proposed revenue estimates for 18-19 are $90.5 million. That's a difference in $1.3 million from last year. Part of that in tax value, some in state aid. This is maybe a little difficult to read, but it's just the details of in the local and state and federal revenue where the differences are again. Tax collections in the local revenue is the largest amount, an increase in state aid, some one-time costs. As we talked about, I think last month, our state comp ed, we had an increase in that for 17-18 because of the Hurricane Harvey. The district was able to receive more state comp ed money because everyone ate free for the month of September since we were a Harvey district. So that will not continue next year, so that's been decreased out of that state aid. And then federal funds, mainly SHARs, and the settle-up amount can vary from year to year, so we just want to be conservative on that. As I spoke about the program allotments, so as part of our big state aid pot of money, these are the different areas where we spend money and they monitor how much you spend. And I have the estimated allotment on column 1 for next year based on the ADA that we have estimated right now. And you can see in the different categories how much money that is. And the state requires you spend a percentage of that depending on the program, and they monitor that and how you spend it. For instance, comp ed money has to be spent on students at risk. Transportation, another one I like to point out is we get $1.6 million in transportation funding, and we spend about $5.9 million. So we have that's a hard area for districts that are large as far as we are in square miles, because we transport a lot of students. Gas prices are very high compared to school districts that have neighborhood schools basically. So we do get some money from transportation, but that would be a good place for districts or the state to look at making some changes in how that formula works.
What is the high school allotment, the second from the bottom?
The high school allotment is $295 per student per ADA to be spent on high school students, and also can be spent on middle school students for certain things, AP, advanced placement type spending. It's pretty specific in how you can spend it. Okay. Most of the allotments are quite specific.
Thank you.
The general fund budget, expenditure-wise, $90.5 million. As you note that we are proposing a balanced budget this year with not asking for fund balance for any one-time cost. This is another very busy spreadsheet, but since the board adopts the budget by the function level, I like to show this at the hearing to just show that by function, and of course instructional is the largest one, about 68% of our budget, and that is classroom teachers, anything that happens in the classroom. And so, and just to point out a few of the larger areas where there's a difference, of course in instruction, that's the raises for teachers, and some one-time costs. That state comp ed allotment that's always spent on instructional has been reduced out, so that nets that about $524,000, and functional 11 is the addition. The student transportation is the CPI increase. The decrease in maintenance is actually for one-time costs last year due to some insurance claims we had for Cedar Creek High School on the roof, so those costs ran through, but we won't have those next year. Security and monitoring, we had bought a police vehicle last year. We don't have that this year. And the community service area is that daycare costs that we were incorporating to the budget this year. And of course the $360,000 reduction is from the track that was the tennis courts that we've refinished last year, and also the one-time costs for portables set up. Of course, we budgeted much higher on that track, tennis courts, I don't know why I keep saying track, tennis courts, then that it actually, the prices came in much lower, so that's why that reduction is so large. General fund balance history and projections, something the district, of course, always looks at and is continuing to look at. We have a goal and a priority to increase the fund balance back up to 3 months of operating. As you know, we strategically spent some of that money in doing security upgrades. This year, I show 17-18, the year we're just finishing, to be to have a no effect on the fund balance. I expect we'll put money into the fund balance this year after looking at our final numbers, and there is an increase in our state aid. Tax collections were very good. We did receive some delinquent taxes that we had been hoping for, so they came, so that was helpful to our budget. So, and then just estimating about a $700,000 increase in the fund balance in the next few years to get us back up.
Ms. McClure and I were sitting in a meeting this weekend with a district that has about half the amount of students as us, and they had gotten their fund balance to $138,000.
Oh. Okay.
So you're doing well.
Okay. That is scary for sure.
Yes.
The food service budget, we've approved the goal. SFE's contract, and this is really based on their contract. We show a $5.3 million estimate in revenues next year and $5.3 in expenditures, with a little addition to the fund balance next year of $57,000. That's what's estimated at this time. And our debt service budget, again, this could change, and we will amend that budget once we get our tax rate calculations done and our values. It's possible we'll be able to redeem some bonds, pay down some debt early for some of our bonds. Spoke with our financial advisors about that, so that's a possibility. We'll bring that back in August. That takes board approval. Showing federal funds, I showed this last month. Last month I showed our current 17-18 amounts that we had received. This is the planning amounts that I pulled down just recently. I did want to note that Carl Perkins money does not roll forward. That's career and tech money. I think most of the other ones do roll for the most part. Migrant used to not, but I think it does now. So just kind of give you an idea, we do get federal money. The board doesn't approve those budgets, but that's additional money, very specific on how you spend all of that money. And again, just to talk a little more, just to say about our financial priorities is to increase the general fund balance to the 3 months of operating, increase our daily ADA, and that's just something we have been working with, and campuses work on that all the time. I know they do. And so just to continue that always. And then financially address facilities and maintenance needs. We know we have some needs as far as some maintenance that we're going to work on, trying to find ways to make some of those things better and within our current budget. So just to keep that in mind. Tax rate adoption calendar, again, we'll bring the proposed tax rate in August on the 21st, and then on September 18th, we'll have our public hearing to adopt our tax rate. So that is all I have. If you have questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any questions from the board? Sandra, great job, and it was definitely a team effort, and there's been a lot of people involved, and I know that we have seen drafts of this multiple times and asked a lot of questions, and so thank you for your patience of explaining a lot of these things to us.
All right.
And at least you know we're looking
problem.
at it.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so on the agenda here, Ms. Callahan, we have 2B, so we want to take action on that or take action on C?
I think we're going to take action on approve the amendment to the BISD compensation package, and then adopt the 18-19 budget, general fund, debt service, and food service as presented. So I think two motions.
Okay, so before I entertain a motion, does any of the board have any discussion about those two items? All right, at this time I will entertain a motion to
Can you give us the number where we are, what we're...
2B. So I'll entertain a motion at this time to amend the BISD compensation package.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This time we'll move to action item 2C, and I will entertain a motion to approve the budget 2018-2019 budget for general and debt services and food services.
I move that we adopt the 2018-19 budget for general debt service and food service.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, Sandy.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
This time, we have Lila Oliveris, who will have a public hearing on proposed application for an optional flexible school day program for 2018-2019. Hello, Lila.
Hello, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Muchik, Mr. Edwards, and board members. So we have a threefold mission tonight regarding optional flexible school day program. The first is to present to you a program report for the 2017-18 school year. Then we're going to present a proposal for the application for optional flexible school day program for 2018-19. This is a program that we implement out at Genesis High School. And then we're going to finally consider approval to submit the application for optional flexible school day program for eligible students for 2018-19. And so the district is required to submit this application to the Texas Education Agency, and it provides flexibility in the days and the hours and the instructional minutes for kiddos in any grade level that meet the following criteria, and it's really just twofold. This program is for kiddos who are denied credit for one or more classes based on attendance requirements. So for kiddos that may be overaged and have jobs or are struggling to get to school, this is a program for them. And secondly, and a big reason why we use this program, it's a student who is at risk of dropping out or has actually dropped out of school. So this is our dropout recovery program efforts as a district to make sure that students still receive a viable education program for them with teachers in front of them, counselors, and support services. Okay, so in order to approve the program, the board has to sponsor a public hearing on how we did, and then we have to make sure that we present to you how we performed last year. So you should have in your packet, and I'm sorry if it's not projected, I don't know what you see on your screens, hopefully you have it in front of you, but I'm going to go into our 2017-18 data, and it's just a few data points. So I'm going to talk about the number of students that were enrolled at Genesis High School. We had 197 students. So we want to report that out to you. This program truly, as a former high school principal, it's an option. It is not just a lifeline for our students, but it truly gives us hope. It's doing the right thing by students and families. I've seen a lot of families benefit from this. So we have 197 students enrolled. The total number of credits that those students earned collectively, 1,026.5 credits for last year. So that's a very impressive number, thanks to Mr. Conradi and his staff of teachers. The number of students who graduated, 132. That's amazing. Truly, when you're sitting at a comprehensive high school and you absolutely know that this may not be the program, no matter how hard you try, for students to be able, and you guys sat on that stage and shook the hands, 132 graduates, phenomenal work. Phenomenal work. Yay. So number of students withdrawn. We want to report we had 38 students withdrawn that we actively truly work to recover. We have 27 that are returning to high school, and what Mr. Conradi kind of walked me through earlier today is that some of these kiddos do not return back to comprehensive high school proper. They return back to him over at Genesis. The number of students that transferred is 21. We track students that maybe go to another district. We do have a high mobility population. And then the number of students who dropped out is 16. And we are constantly, actively trying to track our dropouts and entice them to come back in. And then the number of incarcerated students as adults, we had 1. And it's our responsibility to report that publicly to you. So certainly 197 students enrolled, 132 graduates, over 1,000 credits earned in this program. I think that staff is doing really good work out there. So with that, we want to move into that, and that was the report for this past year. So now we have an application that we put in front of you with 5 appendices that we review, and basically we give assurances of what program we want to provide for students, and we want to continue to provide the program that we're currently running there, which is a traditional program, open 8:30 to 4 p.m. With the staff staying until about 4:45, 5 o'clock, or whatever time it takes sometimes, as Mr. Conradi said earlier, depending on where they are in their credits and who the teachers are, they'll just stay until the job is done. But we do have to submit that to the state that we intend to run an optional flexible school day program for our students out at Genesis High School. So the recommendation that I bring to you tonight is I recommend the board approve the request to submit an application to continue programming there as we have done this past year for the optional flexible school day program for the 2018-2019 school year. Questions, Doc?
Thank you. Does the board have any discussion or questions for Ms. Olivers? All right, this time I'll entertain a motion to approve the request to submit an application for the optional flexible school day program for the 2018-2019 school year.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms. Olivers.
Thank you for supporting that. Mr. Conradi, thank you for the great work you and your staff. We'll take a signature from you tonight on that.
Absolutely. All right.
Fantastic. So at this, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
At this point, we'll move into our 2016-2017 Bilingual ESL Annual Program Report. We do have a presentation to project for that, so we'll wait for it to kind of come online. And as we do that, I kind of have 2 thoughts, and first an acknowledgement and then a thought that I want to make before we delve into these numbers. First of all, an acknowledgement to Dr. Tina Lozano. She is our coordinator for bilingual and ESL services, and she pulled the data for a lot of the graphs that you're going to see tonight. She takes care of our compliance. She makes sure that we are doing everything that we need to do per our statute related to bilingual programming and services, which is Chapter 89, and she does a really fantastic job. And then right behind her are all of the English language arts, our ESL specialists, and that's a team of the following ladies who worked this year to serve our campuses. Blanca Carrizales, Lisa Ranson, and Araceli Perez Delgado. They're a phenomenal team, and they really are boots on the ground along with Tina to really try to help support our growing population of English learners. So that's the acknowledgement tonight. And then the hope, because frankly, there's some numbers in this report that are sobering. And I'm going to tell you that's a statewide and frankly, I would say national trend when it comes to the performance of English learners. We're not satisfied with that. But one thing that gives me great hope going into this tonight is just seeing that here in Bastrop ISD we have fantastic community partnerships. And when we have that kind of community support, how can we not improve? How can we not get better? How can we not tackle this together? So even though some of what we're going to present to you tonight, I just want you to know up front, we're not super thrilled or happy with. We know that we can do better, and we will. Okay. All right. So we're going to start by giving you just a teeny bit of background and statute on this. We are committed as a district to ensuring that our kiddos are successful. English language learners that come to us by statute that have a home language other than English are identified as English learners. And they have to be provided a full opportunity to participate in bilingual education or English as a second language, or ESL for short, okay? So we have to, by statute, provide that for students. We are, as a district, very, very committed to doing that for our kiddos. Bastrop ISD fulfills this requirement by providing the following programs that we're going to discuss tonight. So first, we offer bilingual education. It's offered pre-K through 6 on all of our BISD elementaries except Mina Elementary School. This past year, we implemented a transitional bilingual early exit model, and what that looks like is starting in pre-K, the kiddos have 50% English, 50% Spanish instruction, building up that language in both English and Spanish for kiddos. In 3rd grade, we want to transition into a 70% English, 30% Spanish split for kiddos that need that support, so that by 6th grade, we're at a 90-10 model with students. The idea in the statute is that we have to get our students to English proficiency, and that is the goal of early exit, and it aligns with our Texas Administrative Code under Chapter 89 that says we need to enable our English learners to become competent in listening, speaking, reading, and writing in the English language through the development of literacy and academic skills in the primary language and in English. So we do that by offering that bilingual education model I just described. Additionally, we offer English as a second language, or ESL. This is offered to any kiddo who has a home language survey other than English. It's pre-K through 6. In pre-K through 6, it's a content-based ESL. So that means that all of the core content area teachers that are serving our English language learners, and we do have several languages across the district that are represented here in ESL, that they have that ESL certification. And the program is offered across all elementary schools, including Mina, and intermediate schools. And then when you get to secondary, we have what's called an ESL pullout. That means that at a minimum, all of our English language arts teachers who serve English learners are ESL certified. And that program is offered across all of our middle schools, high schools, including Circa, Genesis, and Gateway. So we're very mindful of anywhere students go, we want to provide programming for them. All right, so I love photography. Our kiddos are phenomenal, so you're going to see them throughout this presentation. So let's talk a little bit about program enrollment and growth. The chart is there for you, but I kind of just wanted to anchor you on the synthesis of this. If this enrollment trend continues, which we know that 3 out of 4 of new student enrollees in Bastrop ISD are English learners, if this trend continues, Bastrop can expect over 3,000 identified English learners this coming year, and over 3,800 by 2022. So that's a change. That's a change. All right, in terms of English learners by campus, so one of the things that this annual report by statute asks us to report out to you is where are our kiddos, and this was at one of our graduations, and I was just really thrilled to see this. It says, esto es para ti, mamá, which is, I did this for you, mom. So I know there was a lot of pride because a lot of our kiddos are first generation graduates, so that was cool. All right, so our English learners by campus are listed there for your review. You can see all the way through Gateway in the fall, Gateway in the spring, we are capturing those numbers. But there's some campuses that are really up there on the Cedar Creek side. You know, we're well into the 300s. Cedar Creek Elementary, 492. That is just a lot of kids. That's a lot of LPACs. That's a lot of meetings for our kiddos. A lot of planning and supports. But you can also notice the trend going up on our Bastrop side as well. So those numbers are increasing. All right, so now we're going to talk about student assessment data. This is how did we perform, and our annual report calls that we present this data to you in a couple of segmented chunks. This is the part that I was telling you we're not satisfied with in terms of our performance, but we are going to be very aware of it, very cognizant. We started a conversation today with our principals about the data that we received 6 days ago, and we'll come and present some of that to you, I believe, in August. But below is the data comparing our English learners in BISD to all students in BISD and all students in Texas at the approaches level of STAR for 3rd through 8. For a synthesis for you, the data indicates that our English learners are scoring below their monolingual peers. So that's a gap that we need to bridge. Passing English reading STAR is one of 4 requirements that English learners must achieve in order to meet exit criteria. Okay. The other way that we're going to present this data to you is to report on end of course or EOC results. And again, the data format is the same. The data below compares our English learners in Bastrop to other students in Bastrop and also to all students in Texas at the approaches level of achievement. Again, the data does indicate that our English learners are scoring below their monolingual peers. We're well aware of this. We're planning to infuse a lot of support throughout our campuses to support bridging some of those gaps. Just as a reminder, passing English 1 and 2 as applicable to our kiddos is one of 3 requirements that our English learners must achieve in order to meet exit criteria. And when we talk about exit criteria, we mean exit criteria from having to take ESL classes as support for them. So the next component we have to cover is TELPAS. And this is an assessment that rates our kiddos as beginning, intermediate, advanced, or advanced high. So we look at 4 domains. Our English learners are assessed each spring starting in 2nd grade in the domains of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Actually starting in kindergarten, starting in 2nd grade, they get the full meal deal holistically. Students in K and 1 are graded holistically by their teachers, and then in 2nd through 12 they start online testing for reading for sure, and then they get rated holistically listening, speaking, and writing by their teachers. Again, those ratings are beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. The goal always is to have kiddos make 1 year's growth on TELPAS. So we always kind of enter this telling our teachers at the beginning of the year, here are your rosters for how your English learners did last year. We expect and we hope to see 1 year's growth under you for listening, speaking, reading, and writing. That's the goal in our program. So here's a summary for you on our TELPAS composite score. What I want to draw attention to is the percentage of kiddos who progressed at least 1 level from 2015-16. So for K through 2, we had 47% of our kiddos, and 3rd through 12, we had 53%. So a work in progress in terms of getting our kiddos there. So then we look at years in U.S. schools. So the state asks us to monitor how many years have our English learners been actually in the U.S. and part of our U.S. programming. And so it is a component of TELPAS data. It's collected on students beginning in 1st grade and continues until a student meets exit criteria and is no longer required to participate in TELPAS. So we have kiddos in our district that'll say, why do I have to take this test, this reading test online? I've been taking this test since I was in elementary school. And a big part of our job as administrators and counselors is to say, show us what you got, show us what you know, take it seriously, and then hopefully we'll meet that exit criteria. So a lot of it is just kind of educating our kiddos on the purpose of those assessments. So here's the data for you to see for our kiddos in terms of number of years in U.S. schools. So we had, and the number I want to draw your attention to is the number of kiddos who've been in U.S. schools for 6 or more years in our district is 715 kiddos. This is a number that we strive to really work with our teachers. English learners are considered to be newcomers when they're in the U.S. between 1 and 3 years of having entered U.S. schools. And then long-term English learners, once they've been identified as limited English proficient for 5 or more years. So this data indicates that we're serving over 925 long-term English learners. That's a number we're trying to move. All right, so then we get into exited students. So part of what we have to report is of our kiddos that are going through the system, how many of them meet exit criteria. So English learners are expected to meet exit criteria to no longer be identified as English learner proficient. So our ELs cannot be considered for exit before the end of 1st grade. So we might have a kinder teacher who did a great job of going through her phonics in English and Spanish, and frankly, a lot of our kiddos kiddos are coming to us with a lot of English. And so in our 50-50 early exit model, we're trying to leverage that they're coming to us. They weren't born in Mexico. They weren't born, abroad. They're here. There is Spanish spoken in the home, but let's leverage that English is the model so that we don't create that 5-6 year long-term English learner, okay? So the following table shows a campus and year by comparison for exited students over 3 academic years. So we show that we're making some progress by campus in terms of the number over a 3-year trend, the number of kiddos that are exited. One thing that I must say is that when the state sets a criteria of having to pass that reading assessment, or English 1 and English 2 assessments. And what we know is that those assessments are typically written 2 grade levels above in reading skills. It makes it a challenge, even if the kiddo might have everything else on the exit criteria and we think they're ready. There are some statute defined things that we have to, hurdles that we have to jump through, okay? All right, and then finally, professional development. So part of our annual report is how do we engage our teachers then in professional development and on-time support. I love that our teachers show up. They show up for our kids. They show up for workshops that we put on. They show up to take training on certification, on how to get ESL certified. They care. As a matter of fact, Dr. Lozano is teaching an English class, aren't you, tonight?
I'm teaching Spanish.
Oh, Spanish, sorry. Yes, Spanish. For our teachers and staff members who want to learn Spanish. So it's a good thing. So our team is committed to providing quality PD for all staff members who have a part in working with our English learners. The following is a brief summary of key trainings that we offered in the year for which we're doing this annual report, which is 2016-17. The data is, these annual reports are usually behind, okay? So we've offered things like our proficiency standards and sheltered instruction strategies. We offered those in August and in January. We've offered a biliteracy institute for principals and bilingual teachers. We offer ESL Academy, and that's to certify teachers, and that's kind of ongoing. Dr. Lozano, how many did you offer this past year?
6.
6. So we've increased in the number of offerings. So here in this annual report, because we're a year behind, we offered 4, but this year she offered 6. The Maestro cohort, which was for bilingual teachers, was ongoing throughout the year. These were very popular meetings with cohorts as they went along. Sheltered instruction cohort was also a big training piece, again, ongoing throughout the year so that teachers had support from each other, and then some expert literature pieces and strategies to affect learning on in their classroom. And then finally, the PLC for our ELL collaborative, and that was bilingual ESL teachers, campus leaders, and parents, and that was offered 3 times throughout the year. Again, this is a small offering of all of the things that they go to try to build their skill set in serving our English learners. So I wanted to end just like I began by acknowledging that it is a team of experts. And as I mentioned to you, Dr. Tina Lozano, as our coordinator, pulled the information for this report. She and the specialists on the team have truly led the charge in helping to support campus bilingual and ESL teachers. But we feel in CNI that it is not an isolated working in silos team. It's going to take all of us. If 3 out of 4 of our new enrollees are English learners, it's not just on their shoulders, even though they've got great shoulders and they are truly doing phenomenal work. But it takes the collective. So we are working and striving to not be in isolation or to say that's your problem over there. It's all of us because they're all of our kiddos. So that concludes our bilingual ESL annual program report. I'm happy to talk through questions or wonderings you might have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Got it.
At this time, Mr. Edwards, would you continue to take us through the superintendent's report and board discussion, please?
Yes, we will. At this time, we'd like to ask our district head nurse, Diana Rios, to come and provide an end-of-year Student Health Advisory Council, or SHAC, update. Ms. Rios?
my heart was racing earlier, and then when Miss Olivares went, I was like, oh, okay, I can relax.
She took
now.
cuts on you, didn't she?
Yeah, it's okay.
We allowed
It's
her to
okay.
do that.
You know what? Yeah, I'm good. Good afternoon, evening, Mr. Edwards, Mr. Muchink, board members. I'm here to present the SHAC report for this past school year, 2017. We had a quite interesting year that we were tasked with a lot of school things, advisory councils, and health services. So it's always interesting when the legislation meets what kind of duties the SHAC committee is going to have to take on. Our favorite one was Senate Bill 1566, which was the notification of lice whenever there's lice in an elementary classroom. Our nurses now have to contact the parents, which BISD has a board policy, but the legislation added that we had to notify parents within 48 hours and then notify the classroom within 5 days. So we have a board policy in place, and that is FFAA that was adopted in 2017. So our nurses now send out letters to the classrooms whenever there is a case of head lice in the classroom at the elementary level. House Bill 1076 also came into place, which changed a little bit of our spinal screening that we have to do. Initially, we were grades 5 and 8, grades 6 and 9. So now the change has been at the age 10 and at the age 12 in females, and then at the age 13 in males. So it's going to be pretty interesting how we are going to screen our students across the district when they turn 10, when they turn 12, and when they turn 13. So that's going to be a little bit of a change on the campuses from the nurses' standpoint, because we may be pulling students in every time they turn 10 or 12 or 13. So the good thing that did happen when they had several hearings with regards to state mandated screenings is they've now appointed a school nurse to their panel. They did not have a school nurse sitting on their panel. And the committee chair is actually a retired dentist. So it's pretty interesting that we've made some significant changes on that.
What is the procedure for that? Like, student comes in, how do you test?
We test them all individually. So we set up our screening areas. We separate them, boys and girls. We do send out notification to the parents, and then we have to, in the letter that goes home, if they're female, we ask they wear a bikini top or sports bra. If they do not have any of that on, we do not screen the student. So we do have to have them take off their shirt and do the forward bend test and then look at their spine. If they fail, we have to rescreen and then refer them out. So it is pretty intrusive. And so looking at doing it at the 4th grade level might be a little bit of a challenge, which is why I wanted to share with the board and Mr. Edwards the new change that is taking place for this upcoming school year. My favorite one that SHAC had to do some research on was Senate Bill 489, which was the e-cigarette education. And that's EAH, and that came in the legal update 109 November 15th of 2017, and that's where we have to do instruction on e-cigarette prevention, so prevention on e-cigarettes. So we reviewed curriculum, and the SHAC committee had to come up with review curriculum and make a recommendation to the district as to which curriculum we felt was the best curriculum to use to prevent, to do education on e-cigarette prevention. The program that we chose was the Catch My Breath program. It consists of, it's available free to the schools. It's because of a grant from CVS. Even if the grant funding goes away, it is always still going to be available for free to schools. It's only 4 lessons of 30 to 40 minute lessons, and this particular program is research evidence-based and has all the resources, the class activities, everything is all there for the teachers. All they have to do is log in, go through the program, and do the presentation. The campus administrator is the one that will create the account, and then that password is shared with whoever is teaching the class, and it's one password. So if you're teaching the class, you don't have to have yours, and if Dr. Mix is teaching a class, he doesn't have to have it. It's all the same. It's all the same material.
What is the, excuse me, what is the age that this is taught to, the age of
that was our age that we chose, and I did some research with other school districts, and they're implementing it at the about 6th grade, 7th grade level. And so we recommended that if our middle schools don't have a health class, that we teach it at the 6th grade level. And our thought is, and the rationale for recommending that is that if you prevent them from experimenting or using e-cigs and you teach them at a younger age, you're anticipating that it'll minimize the use of e-cigs and the temptation to participate in that behavior. What they've found is that the e-cig is the introduction to tobacco use. So this curriculum is, as I said, is evidence-based, and the research is supported in there, and it has to be implemented with the 2018-19 school year. Just a little bit about CATCH, and CATCH stands for the Coordinated Approach to Child Health. It was initially funded in 1988, and so all of these programs, that's where they do the obesity prevention, they do nutrition. So when our PE coaches are doing exercises with the kids, they're using these programs that have already been set aside. It's all based on the Center for Disease Control's whole school, whole community, whole child. So if you educate the school, the community, and the child, hopefully you'll prevent these behaviors from starting that will lead to illness and not so good outcomes. An update on our puberty education, my favorite topic. We had a training and an update. Our program is no longer called Worth the Wait, so Dr. Shulock changed the name of her program and introduced a wellness component to it. So it is now called Sexual Health and Wellness. That program is taught at the age at the grade levels 6 through 12, and all the coaches and health teachers along with the nurses were trained on October 8th on how to present this program at the 6 through 12th level. In addition, permission slips were created in English and Spanish so that they only had to be returned if they opted out. We also updated our Think First, Think Safe curriculum, which is the Child Lures program, and I had a meeting with the counselors to go through the training on that curriculum because that curriculum was outdated as well, and that's taught at K through 5th grade, and again, we had permission slips in English and Spanish that were created so that parents could also choose to opt out on that program. The counselors were primarily the ones that did the implementation of this program. I would like to add that Nurse Coleman out at Bluebonnet Elementary is very passionate about this program, and she takes 30 minutes out of her day every morning to teach this class at all grade levels. So she starts at the start of the school year, and by the time the end of the school year comes around, she's gone K through 4. She recently spoke at the 2018 School Nurse Conference, Keep It Professional. She was a speaker for the Scott and White Baylor conference on June 5th. So she is very, very passionate about this program and was trying to get other school districts to look at this program. I want to toot our horn a little bit from the health services standpoint. We had a remarkable year. We continue to have our amazing partnerships with health occupation students that are helping with our vision and hearing screenings. They continue to do our blood pressures, do our heights and weights. We've now expanded to where we've got the Bastrop side also participating and helping in the feeder pattern. So it's amazing. The nurses really look forward to having our students come out and do our partnership. Last year we had the opportunity to also partner, begin the start of a new partnership, and Melinda Bankston was a former Bastrop employee, and she is with the Lions Club, and she introduced to us the opportunity to have our students vision screened with a spot screener. This is approved by the state, so basically our students that are kindergarten and below, kindergarten and pre-K, are able to have their vision screened with the machine just by looking at the screen. And what I'm going to do is have Dale Throckmorton and Jan East come up. They are both from the Lions Club, and they have, come on up. And they are holding the actual machine that we use to screen our students, K through pre-K and K. So basically it takes a matter of 10, 15 seconds to look at the nose on the screen, and it gives them a pass, or if they fail, they get a printout with their eye results, and it says refer.
Take your glasses off.
It's Christy, like the glasses. Oh. Oh, wow.
Look over here. Okay, it might show me.
He has perfect vision.
Okay, it's not going to show me, but anyway, just like if you would basically, we look right here, okay, and we were able to see the little kids' eyeballs. When we light up two green bars here, that tells us that we are perfectly lined up. And for some reason it's not acting, I'm going to have to like do somebody.
Is it still called the Cub Sight program?
Kid Sight.
Kid Sight.
Kid Sight. Kid Sight, yes, sir. The kids love it.
And the good thing about using this screener is that we don't have to use with the K and the pre-K kiddos, because sometimes the tumbling E, which is the chart where they have to hold their fingers left, right, up, down, or if they don't know their ABCs, this is great because they're able to just look straight at the machine, and if they pass, there's no printout. If they fail, then we have to then we refer them out. So it's an amazing tool for us to use on our students.
When I was in New Orleans, I was a member of the Lions Club, and we screened thousands of kids with this unit. Ours was a lot bigger. We actually, it was like a Polaroid, but it uses light to reflect off the eyeballs, and the way the light reflects tells you whether the child's going to have problems or not. But you're able to save children's vision. So, I mean, it's a really big deal. So I'm glad to see it's here. And
well, and we initially, this past year, we started implementing it. If they failed their vision chart, we then sent them through the spot screener, because when you get to the upper grades, the students start to, I don't know if I can see that or not. And so we're not really sure, is it a true pass, a true fail? So by using the spot, we were able to tell if they were just trying to get out of class a little later on another day. So because what happens with the vision screenings is that if they fail the first one, 2 weeks later, we have to turn around and screen them again. And if they continue to fail that screening, then we have to refer out. And our district is fortunate enough that they pay for all of the school nurses to be members of the National Association of the School Nurses Organization, and we're able to get vision vouchers for those families who either have no insurance, and we can provide them a voucher worth $300 to get a set of eyeglasses, an exam, and so forth. So unfortunately, those kiddos that we're not able to reach, we reach out to the Lions Club here in Bastrop, LaGrange, Smithville, to help cover their eye exam. Most of those kiddos are students that are undocumented who don't have a social security number. This past year, these ladies and all their wonderful ladies, if they weren't busy screening with the spot screener, they were helping us do vision chart screenings, and they gave us 369 hours of volunteer hours. So I was really grateful. Exactly. When they come out, they bring these machines, and they're free of charge to us. We're not renting them. We're not doing anything. The cost is the organization that purchased them. And all of the screeners have to be vision and hearing certified in order to be able to use the equipment, and then they get trained on this piece of equipment. So it has been very helpful. We screened 1,600 students with the spot district-wide, and only 428 of those students had to be referred because they did have a true vision problem. So we were able to identify those kiddos right away and send them forward, much rather than waiting 2 weeks later for another vision report, and then they fail and we still have to refer them out. So this gives us immediate results. So I'm really grateful for the Lions Club and coming in and partnering with us, and we're continuing to work with them next year. Thank you.
I'd like to say one thing. Since I live in LaGrange, Jane lives in Smithville, and we are so happy to come over here to help you guys. But one of the good things that we have learned is Nurse Rios is just a go-getter. She has a wonderful process here for all of her elementary schools, intermediate schools, and middle schools. And we have taken that process back to Smithville and LaGrange and Round Top. And we're trying to get it into the Flatonia School District. And that works so smoothly. The nurses at these other schools are just amazed how smoothly the process is, where we don't have to go back 3 or 4 days in a row just to screen one elementary school. We can do it all in one day. And so I wanted to kind of give her a little toot of the horn, because she does such a fantastic job. Makes it easy. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last thing I wanted to add and share is that this year, based on our student enrollment, our nurses saw over 17,000 students. Last year we saw 10,539 students. So it's a pretty big jump. We also, the previous year we had 2 vacancies and sent about 2% of the students that were seen home due to illness or whatever needed to be done. This past year, without those vacancies, our return to class rate was 99%, so we only sent 1% of those students home. So that means that it shows that if you have a school nurse or RN, LVN in your campus, you will have a less number of students being sent home for, little things. Our most common visit that we see in the clinic on a daily basis is the administration of medications. So we administered over 15,000 medications this year, and that includes our students that are diabetic that come through the nurse's office. So that was a big jump from the previous year of just 9,000 medications administered. So we've had a pretty big increase in the amount of health services that we're providing our students, from procedures, tube feedings, toileting assistance, catheterization. So I want to commend our nurses for doing such an amazing job in caring for the students of the school district. And that's all I have.
All right. Ms. Rodriguez, just right quick, just a couple questions I have for you, and I hate to even ask because y'all are doing so much to even think about putting more on tape, but with the times changing in safety and security, has there been or are there any plans of triage management, mass casualty management? And I ask that for one reason. Our response time to probably out to Red Rock or Lost Pines and the transport time, you're eating up that golden hour that you have on a life. Is there, and I visited with Chief Yarbrough about some of this, but is there any thoughts or plans for something like that?
Nurse Boswell and I attended a training at the from the Texas State Safety Center, and it was the given by the chief. Remind me of the name, the I Love You Guys Foundation, and it was an eye-opener for Nurse Boswell and I. She went in the morning and I went in the afternoon, and just the number of people, officers from around the state that were present, helped us to see, we understand the significance and the importance of it. Came back and came together, and we know we have to do the Stop the Bleed program. That's one of the important things, where if we can stop the bleed, because you may not have a nurse, and so we have to look at training the staff on how to respond in an emergency. So I'm working with Officer Shadwell to kind of look at what we can do from a nursing standpoint for him to give us training with regards to that.
Right, and also supplies. So
Supplies,
yeah.
yes. And I think I learned about an interesting website today, and you know, I'm not a teacher, but I know some health occupations teachers that can probably help me get some supplies donated to do some teaching on Stop the Bleed and other topics. So definitely something to look forward to.
No, thank you for everything you're doing. Sounds great.
I enjoy it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nurse Rios. At this time, we have our financial report is for information only. Our personnel report is also for information only. We have no communications or community services report this month and/or operations.
All right, thank you, Mr. Edwards. We'll move into the consent agenda. Administration has requested that we pull item 5B7 from the agenda and not take action on this item this evening. This item will be brought back to the board for consideration in August. In addition, administration has requested that we pull item 5E and take action separately on this item. Would any board member like to pull any additional consent agenda items for discussion? All right. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is passed as discussed and presented. At this time, we will be visiting with Ms. Callahan. We'll discuss item 5E.
Yes, and really what the change is there is no debt service amendment, so it's just consider approval of the general fund and food service budget amendments as presented.
Any discussion? The board understand what why we pulled that? Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
I recommend the board approve the amendments to, I move that the board approve the 2017-18 general fund and food service budgets as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is that motion worded correctly, Ms. Callahan?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. This time, we will move into our action items. Consider delegates or delegating a delegate and an alternate delegate to the 2018 TASB Delegate Assembly in September. Last year it was Molly McClure and Billy Moore. I will entertain a motion this year that for the 2018 TASB convention that Chris Dillon serve as the delegate and James Allen serve as the alternate delegate.
So moved.
I second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All right.
With a big old smile.
Yes. All in favor, say aye.
Congratulations.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Congratulations, Chris. You're getting to do all this real fast, aren't you? Yes. We'll move down to action item B, consider approval of a revision of the BISD Student Code of Conduct. Mr. Hudson.
Mr. Muchnick, Mr. Edwards, member of the board, in your package you should find the revised copy to the Bastrop ISD Student Code of Conduct for year 2018-2019. Because this is not a legislative year, there were no major changes to the Student Code of Conduct. Are there any questions?
I have one question.
Absolutely.
Does the chief get involved in our student code of conduct? I mean, he's the one that sees things on campus on a daily basis, and he may be able to add whatever's in there could be changed based on what he sees. So who all is involved in that besides campus principals?
So first off, we get that template from Walsh Gagel, so it's from the law firm that goes through to make sure that it matches with all of our board policy. Then we put a committee together. Most of the committee is made up of assistant principals, those people that see this on a daily basis. But Officer, clearly one of his officers was on that committee to make sure that we covered that.
I think it's just good to have one of your folks looking over that to say, hey.
Oh, absolutely.
They need to change it. Hey, that's great, or whatever the case may be.
And I will tell you, Mr. Allen, there's the way that works, they give us a few little places that we can actually go in and make changes. There's not a whole lot of things that we really change from what we get from the Waska-Eagles template.
All right. Any more questions for Mr. Hudson?
I had a parent ask me just last week if we could condense this down to one page. I said, I don't think so.
It would be about this big.
Yeah, small
font, .005.
I just gave him Mr. Hudson's email.
Is that what you did?
That's what everybody else does.
And my comment was, the e-cigarette thing, just for instance. Things are constantly changing, and she didn't even know what an e-cigarette was, which I don't know if I really know 100% what it is. But, things consistently change. And so we have to stay on top of it. So I know it's a lot of work. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. If there's nothing else, I would recommend that y'all approve it as presented.
All right, so I entertain a motion to approval of revisions to the BISD Student Code of Conduct as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hudson.
Thank you very much.
Yes. All right.
Quick question. Do the students and the parents have to sign off on that at the beginning of the school year?
So in the registration, whenever they go on electronically,
oh, yes.
there that they check, and that's how.
Okay.
All right, Noe Reyes, you're the next contestant. Would you come on down, please? All right.
Sitting back there very
Mr. Reyes has been back there very patiently, and we really do appreciate it. He always has a smile on his face. But we will consider approval of a resolution authorizing a tax resale. Can you elaborate
Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent, members of the board, this is a very simple action item. The county is requesting that Bastrop ISD and the city of Bastrop donate and convey its interest in the property you have in front of you, which is bid and trust for delinquent taxes. The county is looking to build a central maintenance facility, and I think they've got their eye on this particular property, but the property is owned in trust by the county, by the school district, and the city. So they are coming to you requesting that you convey your interest to the county by official action.
Mr. Edwards and Ms. Callahan, have y'all gone forward?
Yes, we have. Yes.
Any questions, board, for Mr. Reyes? All right, at this time, I'll consider a motion of approval of resolution authorizing the tax resale as presented and represented in your board booklet.
So moved.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Noe. All right, information items. In your board booklet there is the board calendar of events, enrollment, also have the TEC 44-0333 Purchasing Cooperative Fee Report, and also proposed 2019 Bastrop Central Appraisal District budget. Those are all informational only. And we have the 2018-19 School Board meeting dates, informational only. I would like to also please note that we will not be having a meeting next month. Is that correct, Mr. Edwards?
That is correct.
All right. Anything that any other board member would like to add to this meeting? All right. Are there any objections to adjourning this meeting? If there are none, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.